Hi, I'm Nancy Mura. I'm the founder of the POPPEE Group, and we're so happy to have you. If you can, we don't care what you look like. We don't care what your backgrounds look like. If you can join us by camera, it just makes us feel better because we're going on our 5th year of delivering webinars. And I tell you, it's just nice to have a lovely face like Maria's here. So, but if you can't, we understand that as well. So excited that you're here to join us and that you could make this hour go right. I'm going to turn it over to Miss Diane, who's got so much great stuff as always to deliver. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of housekeeping. Very short and sweet, the way Diane likes it. Guys, if you don't have the best-selling book, Keys to Private Practice Success, the pediatric version, Miss Carrie Lee, our right hand, we'll put it in the link. Now, I say it's the best-selling. It's an international best-selling bestseller. It's gone to Canada and it's gone to it's gone to Where's what's her name live in St. Thomas or
St.
St. Croix.
Thomas, St. Croix.
It's so easy to say you're an international bestseller when you have like a book that's for such a niche like pediatric private practice. I don't know how it would sell if it was a mystery. Probably not that great. But anyway, there it is. It is like a Bible, a manual. It is like, you know, the way you get your car manual and you can follow things like, oh, what is that check engine light? Well, there's like check engine lights for your practice. You should read this. You could really substantially impact the running of your practice by reading this book. That's all I'm going to say on that. What do we have coming up? We have unleashed the Paloozaversary, which is our 7th year that we have been doing this craziness. Now, I will tell you that Paloozaversary, October 10, 11, and 12. The meet and greet is on the 9th. It's a 3-day event. It is kind of, we know where some of you are. It is a bit of a gradient, like it's a high curb, but I think you could do it. I think you could do it. If you can't use all the stuff now, you will be able to use it. I know you guys take notes, so you will. The networking alone is worth the ticket price because you will be in a big boy, big girl playground. They share. And our group, the beauty of our group is they share. I'm not kidding you. And people think it's weird that you have to talk to us to buy your tickets. I don't care. You know why? Successful action. It's a successful action. Somehow we weed out the cranky pants. This thing does not have any cranky pants. No cranky pants allowed. So you talk to us, we do that to sell you the ticket. Unless we really know you, then we just give you the link, and once you're in, it's all cool. But we do that. So the people that we have, they work with you, they network with you. It's as if it's their job to help you. I kid you not. Right, Diane? Carrie, we've been doing this 7 years. This is our 7th year. That's all I'm going to say on that. If you can't, if you need help, if you're like, oh, wait a minute, this budget is not in the budget, you help, we can help you. We can put in thing, hey, anybody need a roommate? We help put you together. There's ways to get it cheaper. If you can't stay in the hotel and you need to stay in the Econo Lodge across the street, we don't care. You just talk to us. I'll tell you a quick story. Jennifer Davis, she now has 38 therapists and 10,000 square feet in a very expensive high rent district. She called me up 7 years ago, said, can I put the first Palooza, can I put Palooza ticket on layaway? I was like, girl, what do I look like? Kmart? Like, you can't put a ticket on layaway. She pushed, and I was like, you know what? This girl's really trying to make a change. I put her ticket on layaway. She came. A layaway ticket. She now has 38 staff. Okay, don't let anything stop you. All right. Anyway, over to you, Miss Diane. Take it away.
Thanks so much, Nancy. Hi, everyone. My name is Diane Crecilius. I'm a physical therapist and a partner in ABC Pediatric Therapy. So my company, ABC Pediatric Therapy, is in the southwest corner of Ohio in the Cincinnati and Dayton area, for anybody that's familiar with that corner of Ohio. I started out really small. I started out as a one-man band out of my car, and I didn't want to grow. I really just wanted to help kids. And once I learned how, it became really easy and I actually exploded. And I'm super proud of the impact we've made in our communities. I now have 11 locations. We offer OT, PT, speech, and ABA. And I sold my company 3.5 years ago for double-digit millions of dollars. Never thought in my wildest dreams, I would be able to do that as well. And now I have since left the company I merged with and retired from that company. And now I'm just passionate about helping practice owners like you. And so I started this Bloom webinar with Nancy and Carrie. This is only our second one, so thank you for coming. And Survival Strategies is a consulting company that actually hosts the Facebook page. These webinars allows us to get on. I do this for free just because I love building into you guys. And I love trying to find out what's going on that's really stopping you or slowing you up or confusing you, causing you stress. And do I have any information that could help you? So I love building into other practice owners. And as Nancy said, if you have the ability to turn on your camera, that's always amazing. So thank you, Maria, for that. I feel like I'm talking to real people. If you have ideas that you want to share in the chat, in order to use the chat, if you don't know, just kind of hover over the bottom of your screen. You'll see the little button that says chat. You click it over to the right-hand side, you'll see the chat. Carrie is posting some lovely, lovely information. I do recommend the book, sort of like the Cliff Notes of Private Practice. It's that something that you would like to see and take a look at. I highly recommend it. And the networking that you can do when you come to an in-person convention is just priceless because you really, really, truly will meet other people and network with other people. And it's just super important that you build a network around you. And when you build a network around you, you don't feel like you're on an island. So that's what I want for you, is not only to have the information and the know-how, but to have a network of people around you so you don't feel like you're on an island. And for those of you that are joining late, my name's Diane Cresilius. I'm a physical therapist, and I started and grew my practice and ended up selling it for millions. And I just want to build into other owners and helping them with their business. So thank you so much for taking a chance and getting on. Our next Bloom webinar is coming up, and we're going to do them once a month. So our next one is June 13th from 1 to 2 Eastern Standard Time. June 13th, 1 to 2 Eastern Standard Time. And then after that, we're going to get consistent and less confusing. And we're going to be the third Friday of every month. So starting in July, the third Friday of every month from 12 to 1 p.m. at Eastern Standard Time. So it's only confusing in different times because we're offering a workshop that I want to tell you more about. And if you have extra time today and want to stay on and ask some questions, or if I get through our chats quickly and you have any questions about it, I would love to answer those questions for you. But we have this workshop called Accelerator. And it started out with Incubator, which we did for the past 2 weeks. These are people just starting their practice, right? But for those of you that have already started it, there's this training we have going on called Accelerator, and it starts on May 16th. So it's next Friday. And it's all the things you need to know, right? It's about how to develop a business plan, how to set your goals and targets, how to do the marketing and the PR and the front desk and the hiring and retention, and how to build a culture and billing and collections. It's not going to teach coding, but truly, truly just so many things about how to really accelerate your practice. And I think you'll find it valuable. So I'm going to spend some time at the end of this workshop, and Maria and Chantel are already signed up. So good job for you guys. But I'll spend time at the end of this workshop for anyone that has any questions about it. I can show you the agenda, whatever might be helpful. Or if you want to put in the chat that you want more information on it, I'm happy to jump on a call and do that with you. But today we're going to talk about how to prioritize what you need to do versus what you want to do to actually get work done. So there's a lot of information and tasks and randomity going on in our head, right? Lots of things that we need to do. And so how do we get those things organized in a way that we can actually confront them one at a time and get them done? So I'm going to share with you my perspective on that. If anybody else has additional tips or tricks or organizational tools, electronic or otherwise, and you want to pop them in the chat, please, please, please. I am not the only one with information here. You guys all have great time management, organizational strategies. We would love to hear about them. So put them in the chat. If you want to raise your hand or unmute, I'm happy to have you interrupt me and share as well, or at the end. And usually I don't pay attention much to the chat when I'm speaking because it's a distraction to me. So I will look at the end, or you can unmute and ask those questions at the end if you would like. So let's get started. And what we're going to talk about is actually getting work done. So this is a commitment you make to yourself. And the easiest person to change is you. You might be the hardest person to change is you too, right? It's because you kind of are your own worst enemy sometimes, but that's a choice. And so today we're going to make a different choice and we're going to get a little better organized and be our own best friend instead of causing ourselves stress. I mean, how silly is that, right? Don't cause yourself stress. Be your own best friend, but prioritize you because you know if you're in a good space, right? You're a better sister, mother, wife, friend, employer, right? So having you in a good space is super important and we need to get you there. So let's talk about that. The first thing that I always think you need to do when you have all these to-dos that you need to get done is to create a battle plan. And I call it a battle plan. Really, it's just a to-do list, right? It's a to-do list that you are strategically approaching completion of these tasks that you've put on this battle plan. Why do I call it a battle plan? Well, if you think about the military, they're going to go into battle to actually win. They're going to put together a plan, and the goal is to actually win a battle. Your goal is you're actually going to win your to-do list. You're going to win because you're going to get completion. And remember, that's a choice. You carving out time and being intentional to actually pay attention to a task to get it to completion is a choice. So let's make that choice. So a battle plan is going to take your larger goals and you're going to break them down into easily achievable tasks. And so whatever you want to call it is fine with me, but I call it a battle plan. So the variable in getting these tasks completed is you. So write that in all capital letters, you, right? You have to write the battle plan. So you have to actually take the tasks and write them down so you don't forget them. Now, it could be electronic, it could be on a piece of paper, whatever works for you, but you have to write them down so you don't forget about them in order for them to get to completion. Now, once you write them down, you also I suggest you put a deadline date. You prioritize the tasks on your battle plan, which needs to come first. And these dates may change as the weeks and days go on, but initially, when you write down the task, you're going to say to yourself, buy Mother's Day gift for my mom. Well, I hope you're doing that today or tomorrow, right? Sunday's the last chance. You could stop at a grocery store on the way. But anyway, I'm sure lots of stores will be open. But anyway, that would be a more priority task than, plan Memorial Day weekend grill out, right? So put things in the order, give it a date based on the priority for completion. You have to get into agreement with yourself. I mean, crazy, right? You have to get into agreement with yourself to actually get work done. And what's happening if you're not getting everything done is you're not getting agreement with yourself. You're not prioritizing you. You're not setting aside time and you're not prioritizing the tasks to actually get completion. We're going to talk a little bit about that. You have to handle randomity around you, things going on around you, whether it's your family, your employees, right? Your whatever else is going on in your life besides your work tasks, but you have to handle randomity around you to focus so you actually get work done. We're going to talk about how to handle randomity. But the good news is the easiest person to control is yourself. So as long as the tasks reside under you, that's easy. When you put them on someone else and you have to manage them, you're going to train them up to be great leaders. So I hope that's easy too. But initially, the training someone up to be a great leader is the challenge and the gradient. I want to share with you two little cheats that I use. I share this all the time. So you'll hear this over and over and over again if you hear me speak repetitively. But it's called the Post-it note tip, and it's super valuable. So you take two Post-it notes and you put them on your desk. On the one Post-it note, anytime someone comes into your office, you write their initials on the Post-it note. Now, be as subtle as you can. They'll be like, why'd you put my initials down there? What'd you just write about me? But just put their initials down there on the Post-it note the first time someone comes into your office. And whatever they're coming into your office about, the topic, write it on the second Post-it note. If it's PTO, jury duty, maternity leave, documentation time, whatever it is. Write the topic on the second Post-it note. So the first Post-it note is about people. The second Post-it note, I'm going to say, is about policy. Now, I wouldn't necessarily label these necessarily, just have it a Post-it note. Now, every time this person comes back to your office, and I would just do this for a week, every time this person comes back into your office in a week's time, put a little tick by their name or their initials. And anytime someone comes in and has a question about the same policy, same topic, task, policy, put a little tick by the policy or the task or whatever you want to call those items, those things that people are coming in to talk to you about. If you have to add more Post-it notes, add more Post-it notes, but it's people and policy. At the end of the week, you're going to take a look at your Post-it notes and you're going to see on the people Post-it note who has the most ticks by their name. And this is the person that needs training. They didn't get it the first time when they came through. They also need some validation. They truly, truly need one-on-one time, permission, approval, whatever that might be. They need attention, time, training. Now, whether you're going to do it or you have another leader in your company that could do it, that's how you handle this person. Now, let's talk about the second Post-it note. The second Post-it note is policy. If you find some repetitiveness to why people are coming into your office, it's because you have not strongly communicated around that policy. Let's take documentation time or schedules, right? To me, it's almost one and the same because documentation time should be part of someone's schedule, potentially. If people are coming in about their schedules, then maybe you need to write a policy that you train up everyone, front desk, therapist, whoever, about scheduling. What are our rules around scheduling? How many patients can we have in a row before we have a plan time or a lunch? How can we schedule patients the same day? How many evals can we have in a week? What are the things you need to answer around scheduling policy that needs to be written so that people aren't constantly coming to you? Then you need to train on it, right? So let's say you have policies in place and people are still coming to you, they either need to be revised because what are they coming to you about? Or stop answering their question, retrain them on the policy. And the next time you have a question, if you could refer to our policies first, and if the answer is in here, then you can schedule a meeting with me and we'll work to revise the policy. Otherwise, I put these policies together so that you have the answers at your fingertips so that if I'm not available, you still have the answers. And that's what we want to create is policies where you don't have to wait for me to be available. So it's always very kind in how you train up your teammates or in how you write policy and retrain policy. But usually your team is interrupting you. It could be your family interrupting you, right? They don't understand the schedule or the policy for the day in the household. But usually people are interrupting you because their needs are not being met. So you have to identify how to meet their needs so they don't need to keep interrupting you. And you meet their needs on a scheduled time frame, not an interruption time frame. So let's go on and talk a little bit about that. So I recommend that you have a closed door policy at work. If your door is closed, that means people should not interrupt. The only time they should knock and interrupt is if there's an emergency. And you might need to define emergency. That means it's right before you call 911 in my policy book. Otherwise, they should send an email or schedule a meeting. Now, as owners, we want to be everything to everyone, especially sometimes as women. Sometimes you think you want to be everything to everyone, but you have to take care of you first. Because if you take care of you, you're better able to take care of the team or the family, right? So consider giving yourself permission to have a closed door policy and actually communicate to your team. This is when I'm either in a meeting, on an important phone call, or I'm getting things done for the good of the group, right? There are times when I need to concentrate and get things done for the good of the group. Now, if my door is open, that means you can stop in. Now, I would also train my team I prefer that you send an email or schedule a meeting. If you schedule a meeting, I like an agenda. I like, here's a meeting and here's why I want to meet, right? Bless you. Here's a meeting, here's why I want to meet. And so you understand going into the meeting what you're meeting on, you can better be prepared. But you don't have to be available 100% of your day to your team. They need to see you as a leader. They need to see that you have some boundaries, and it gives them permission to do the same, right? You want your team to get their documentation done. You want their team to get their battle plans and their work done. And they need permission to go into a room and close the door or not be interrupted when they're writing a note. And so you want to be just as respectful, right? If you want to meet with an employee, I suggest you send them a note or schedule a meeting versus go interrupt them while they're writing an evaluation and say, can I speak to you a minute? And they're always going to say yes because you're a leader, right? So it creates this culture of boundaries and respect, which any good team has. So give yourself permission to have boundaries and time management that you can have uninterrupted time. And you have to train up your team on how that looks and how that goes. Now, if you're going to create some office hours, if you management hours, if you will, and you're going to block certain time in your schedule for those hours, you have to consider, do you get work best done at the office with a closed door policy, or do you get work best done at home and then you just come in later, leave early, whatever that looks like? Now, if it's at home, I always recommend that you come in later, have a whole day at home versus leave early, right? Because that never happens. Once you get into work, that never happens. So be very respectful of the reality that is your job. And to block off Friday afternoon to go home early isn't really going to give you the time to get the work done that you wanted to get done. So come in late, come in not at all that day if you're able to, and really, really get work done. Now, if you feel like you need to be in the office because you need to have a presence, that's fine. Just really, really work on training up what your closed door policy looks like. It is a training. You have to train your team on how this is going to go, how this is going to look, right? And that it's okay to have some uninterrupted time. You want them to have uninterrupted time as well, because otherwise they get overwhelmed by not being able to get their work done. You are the leader of your office. You must set the example of how to get work done. Truly, you truly have to set the example. You must set the culture that it's okay to not be available at all times to everyone. It's completely okay. Whether you're a mom or a CEO, both those job roles that you hold, believe it or not, it's okay to not be available every single moment of every day to everyone. But again, it's a choice. And if you're not going to choose this for yourself, you will continue to stay on this gerbil wheel of not getting work done. And you're going to create a culture of those kinds of people, which probably is going to lead to a resignation. So think this through very thoroughly. You must get what is wanted and needed by your team and by you and by the company, right? You must get these tasks completed to move the success of the business forward. So let's think about that concept, okay? You have all these tasks, right? I need to set up the website. I need to spend more time on social media. I need to go visit these doctors. I need to QA. I need to create a way of managing by statistics. I need to take a look at the statistics. I have them. I'm not even managing by them. Like whatever these owner tasks that you need to learn how to do and then get done, right? There are tasks that are wanted and needed by the business. Like your team may not even know that they want or need them, but to have a stable and organized company, they're wanted and needed in order to move the business forward. And yet you can't understand why the business is sort of stunted. I just can't seem to take the next step, to hire the next employee, to move the business forward because you aren't carving out time for you. Confront it. Confront it hard and make the choice that you're going to organize next week differently so that you're actually carving out time and training up your team on how that's going to look. All right, so let me review some of this. First, you're going to create a battle plan. you're going to come up with some type of to-do list, whether it's in writing on a notepad that you keep with you at all times, whether you use OneNote on your computer, however it is for you, you're going to create a battle plan. Now, this battle plan, I suggest, has a bunch of tasks on it and is what by when. Heard that before, Chantel? What by when, right? So you have these tasks and you're going to do them, but when? What's the deadline? What's the order? And this, again, can keep changing as tasks are added. Now, you take a look at these to-dos and you say, now, do I have to do all of these things? Are all the tasks on here something the owner has to do? Or if you're creating a to-do list at home, are these all the things that mom has to do? Or is there someone else in the household that could take some of these tasks, right? So when you look at the one for work, does the owner have to order supplies? Or could you train somebody else up on how to do that? Right? You might give them a budget. You might have to approve the final order. That's okay. But who's going to do the legwork of how many paper towel rolls do we have and how many toilet paper rolls are left, right? Like, does the owner have to do the inventory? Or do they just need to, like, here's what I created. We need this much. We have this much. It's a formula. Need minus have equals order. And I created a spreadsheet. And I wrote down how many we needed of pens and whiteout and whatever. And here's how many we have. There's a formula. They have my permission to order that. So they don't even need to ask me about the inventory because this worksheet handled it. It's basically a policy. It's a supply inventory policy on this worksheet. So there are ways that you can do some work on the front end to create time for you on the back end. But if you don't take the time to create some of these policies and procedures, then they're always going to come to you. And so do the little post-it note trick and figure out, did they need to come to me about that? There's no soft soap in the bathroom. Really? The owner needed to answer that question? I mean, I've answered it a ton of times, right? But you have to own that as the owner, that there's not refill bottles already in the bathroom. Then the storage closet, there's not refill bottles. Everybody is trained. If you have one of those little thing that pops out and you have to put in the little soap bag, everybody's trained on how to replace it. Because maybe the person whose job is to replace it is crazy busy today, and you can back up because your patient's canceled. Whatever it is, everybody knows where the little toilet paper roll key is. I unlocked, if they need to steal my toilet paper, they should steal it. They should have it. Unlock all your toilet paper rolls. Let everybody change it. So just like really digging in and like, what can the owner do less of, right? But you've got to set up systems and give permissions and train people up on how to actually handle things that people are coming to you about. So you have a little bit of work to do next week to kind of think that through and find out what can you take off your plate. So create the battle plan. Make a policy with yourself and possibly your team that you can only move the deadlines on your battle plan one time. What by when? When you put that when down there, you put that deadline, you can only move the deadline one time. After that, you have to stay up all night until you get it done. And that's a policy that we made that was part of our culture. And when you do that, things get done. But you're the leader. You have to hold yourself to that standard. And then things get done, right? There's a deadline. Otherwise, you just keep pushing off and keep pushing off how to learn to grow my business, how to learn to do social media, I got to get that website. I've been pushing that off for a year, right? Don't allow yourself, hold yourself to a standard. That's your own policy with yourself. Create the battle plan with deadlines. They can only be moved one time. Okay, that's number one. Number two, create the time and the space to actually get work done. Create the time and the space to actually get work done. So you have your list of work, you have your battle plan. Now create the time and the space to actually get work done. How are you going to do that? You have to be real with yourself. If you cannot get work done in the office, then set office hours at home. If you can't get work done at home, then you have to go into the office. Be real with yourself. But above all, you have to ensure that your team respects your ability to get work done. Just be real with them. Guys, you got to help me out here. I'm on a new time management adventure, and you need to be my biggest cheerleaders. Here's going to be the policy, and you guys can adopt it too to get work done for you. But if my door is closed, I want you guys to email me or schedule meetings, email me to schedule meetings with an agenda, but only knock if it's an emergency. Only knock. And here's an emergency, one step before you call 911, because anything they knock on, if they knock on your door and it's not an emergency, there's a policy that you don't have written that you need to handle because they really, really needed you. That's a policy. Add it to that Post-it note, add it to that battle plan, get that policy written. And over time, you will be able to adopt this time and space to get work done. Okay, that's number 2 was create time and space to actually get work done. Number 3, only add things to your battle plan that you, in all capital letters, need to do. When a task comes up and you don't need to do it, you delegate it to someone else. Excuse me. Okay, let's say you're the only person in the office. I swallowed wrong. If you're the only person in the office, here's what I would do about those things that someone other than you could do, because there's nobody else to do them, right? I would create this secondary to-do list of things that somebody other than you could do if you trained them up and if you had a person, the phantom person, right? Because what you're going to start to build is the to-do list for the employee that you potentially need to hire. Now, I was the worst on hiring employees. I didn't want to absorb the cost of them, right? And so I can never justify to myself that we needed another employee. As we grew, my team made me come up with an objective measure of when we needed to hire an additional front desk person and when we needed to hire an additional billing person. And those measures really aren't important for you at the stage you are, so we won't go that direction. But the idea that you may need to hire an additional person to support you with your scheduling or your billing or your auths or your marketing, right? And you could train them up to do those things to allow you to treat or to allow you to go do owner things. You need to start developing a list of tasks that somebody else could do. And that's then going to become what we call a job description or a hat, which is bigger than a job description. And we're going to learn how to write those. We're going to learn not really how to write a hat. There is a workshop for that if you're interested in, you can always, if you don't mind, Carrie, putting hello@PEDS-A-PALOOZA.com in the chat. There's this email address, hello@PEDS-A-PALOOZA.com. Anytime you want something, anytime you have a question, you can always reach out to this hello@PEDS-A-PALOOZA.com and they'll get it to the right people. That's people at Survival Strategies. But like there's this workshop about how to write hats or job descriptions. There's a workshop on bonuses. There's a workshop on goal writing for the year. Lots of workshops. And you could ask for those at hello@PEDS-A-PALOOZA.com. But when you're adding things to your battle plan, only add things you need to do and consider a secondary battle plan. Well, I need to do these because there's no one else. But if I had this assistant, I could put those on her. And then you'll see, oh gosh, there's a lot of things that this other person could do. And yeah, like 20 hours a week, that would really decompress me and allow me to do all these things on my battle plan that are so much more important to drive your business forward. So that's how I would handle adding things to a battle plan or a secondary battle plan, only when you need to do them. This is number 4. Number 4, once you start on a task, complete it. How many times have you started something, especially something you don't necessarily want to do, right? How many times have you started something and then you're like, oh, I'm going to check my text messages, or, oh, look, an email popped up and you check the email. If you allow yourself to be distracted, somebody comes in, you answer their question, right? what's going to happen is it's going to take you time, energy, and effort to reorient yourself back to the task. And you actually just lost time. So when you're working to create time for yourself, don't do something like lose time by being distracted from completion of what's on your battle plan of a task that you've already begun. If you're going to check email, check all the email, don't just check it, answer it, because you're going to have to go back and reread that email in order to answer it. Now, sometimes you check email and you're like, I'm going to answer the stuff that's super, super quick and I'm done. And these other things that can wait and I need to do research, spend time on, I'm going to pull into a folder. That's okay. But don't not answer the emails that you can answer right away, and be careful jumping from text to email to projects. It really does eat up time. So once you start a task, complete it. It is time wasted if you start and stop tasks multiple times. So try not to waste that time because you don't have enough of it as it is. Another thing to look at is, are you treating too much? It's always a hard thing to confront because we went into therapy, we became a therapist, if we're a therapist, because we wanted to treat kids or people. And, as you grow your business, really you just wanted to help more kids, but sometimes it might result in you backing away from some of your treatment time. So just consider it. You do have the choice to hire somebody to run your business to allow you to continue treating. The challenge of hiring someone to run your business is you truly, truly have to be present and aware and manage that person. You have to know how to manage that person. So I hired an office administrator so that I could stay in treatment longer. In my mind, I was still running my business, but I was just hiring some support. And I got so busy treating that I stopped managing this person once I got her trained up. And she embezzled from me. Trusted person, right? So, because that happened to me, and it's something you never get over really, I'm not a fan of hiring somebody to run your business. It's your business, and nobody knows how you want it run. Now, you can put policies and procedures and training into place. I'm not saying you shouldn't hire someone to run your business, but be very careful that you're allowing time to manage that person and be aware of what your build out is, what your collections are, what the cash is coming in at the window. That's what she took, all the cash at the window. And I was looking at the collections and they were going up, but I didn't have complete control of the cash at the window. And she checked the mail and got the checks, and she put part of the checks in her car and part of them in my bank. So the bank account was going up, but not as exponentially as it could have. So anyway, be very, very careful and make sure that you are still managing the people that are managing your business. But evaluate the amount of time you're treating and see if you could hire somebody to do more treatment to free up some of the time that you are treating in order for you to learn how to run your business and run your business. I've been talking to a lot of really new owners lately, and they have two big problems that they're running into that really truly are fairly easy to solve. It's just a choice that they're not making, right? So the first thing is when you start your practice, you might have another job, right? You might be a school therapist, or you might be working for a hospital-based pediatric entity, and you're trying to start an outpatient business, right? Well, on one hand, that could be a conflict of interest, so you have to be careful. But if it's something totally different, like you're a school therapist, how do you scale back on one to give attention to the other, right? And you just have to. And you can do it on a gradient. You can do it 5 hours at a time, 10 hours at a time. And I appreciate that your family might need the income. Your family might need the insurance. If you have to stay at 30 hours in order for your family to have the insurance, fine. Then you have to only scale back to 30 hours and give yourself 10 hours to work on your business. So you're working more than 40 hours a week. But if you have another income coming into your home, and maybe the insurance and benefits are on the other income and not yours, maybe you can scale back to 25, and you can scale up that way. But you have to allow yourself time to spend on the business and not just in the business. And part of that time has to be learning how, right? You have to learn how to run your business. Nobody graduated from PTOT speech school just knowing how. Nobody graduated knowing how to run a business. So you have to spend time, energy, and money, just like you are right now. You're spending time, energy, and effort to come to a bloom. Good for you. Pat yourself on the back for that because you're building into yourself, and you have to do that to become the leader to run your company. So consider if you're treating too much. Consider if you're spending enough time on the business and not in the business, right? And it's a very challenging decision for you to confront, but you have to because you're frustrated because you're not confronting it. Think about taking a hammer and just you keep banging your hand with a hammer. And you're like, it really hurts when I bang my hand with a hammer. And yet you keep banging your hand with the hammer, right? You need to stop banging your hand with the hammer and it won't hurt anymore after a minute when your body accommodates. But seriously, I mean, it's the same concept. You're frustrated that you don't have enough time to spend on your business because you're spending too much time in your business and you're not making the choice and giving yourself permission to spend less time in your business. So you have to decide, are you going to be an employee, which is totally fine. Be a therapist, work for someone else. That's great. That's what we all started doing. That's great. You're impacting a lot of lives. But if you want to run your own company, then run your own company. You've got to learn how, and you've got to begin doing it on a gradient so that you actually get there. Time's going to fly. I'm sure if you look backwards, you're going to say, yeah, I've had this dream for 5 years or for 10 years or whatever it is for you. And the reason why it's never come to fruition is because you haven't decided and actually spent more time on your business than in your business. Okay, so as a CEO, you have to decide. So write that down on your piece of paper. Decide. I'd underline it, put it in all capital letters. A lot of times we spend a lot of time deciding and not actually deciding. Like just decide and quit. If you're confused, the definition of confusion is just a lack of information. You've got to reach out and get more information. I'm happy to jump on a call with you. If you need some help on direction, you can reach out to hello@peds-A-PALOOZA.com and tell them what your challenge is. They can help you with direction, but you need more data to help you decide. Do you want someone to run your business so you can treat, but you have to manage this person? Please learn how to do that. Or do you want to hire somebody to treat so that you can run your business? Either way, you have to learn how. Put how in all capital letters because I want you to set some goals around how. I don't know if you've already felt this already, but it's really hard to switch back and forth between therapist and CEO. It's really hard because you get really, bogged down, like going through your battle plan and you're writing all these policies and they're coming to you. Like you're writing them down. It's really great. And somebody says, your patient's here. And you're like, oh, I was on a roll. All right. You put this on hold. You go treat your patient. Now you got to think in a whole nother way, chat with the parent, treat your patient. You feel great about that. And then you come back to this policy and you're like, ugh. You just felt great treating a kiddo. Now you got to come back to policy. To me, it's really hard to go back and forth. I suggest that you have a day for being an owner and a different day for treating, or at the very least, blocks of time, right? Like the whole morning for treating, the whole afternoon for being an owner, or vice versa, but blocks of time. So you're not like switching back and forth in your cancellations, which makes it really, really hard. So take a look at deciding versus decide. Deciding versus decide. How many things have you been deciding about versus that you've decided so you can actually move forward? Often you spend too much time on whatever it is, on deciding, right? If you were going to buy a new car, you're going to go look at a bunch of different cars. You're going to go online. You're going to talk to some friends. Maybe you think you want this car. You're going to talk to people that own that car. You're going to look at reviews. You're going to put a lot of information into this decision, but then you're just going to decide. Or maybe you've been thinking about getting a new car for 10 years and you haven't decided, right? It's just put the information with it, get rid of confusion, and then actually make yourself decide. Commit to it, commit to your decision, and then just move on. Move on with either you buy the car, you choose the college, you decide to do this course on learning something new, decide, and then go with it. You need positive forward movement in your practice in order to get success. Positive forward movement. Time flies. Do not let it be you that misses opportunities because you're still deciding. These opportunities may not be presented to you again. Maybe they will, but do you want to take that chance? Or do you just want to decide and get that positive forward movement now? You know, my friend Nancy Murray here shared with me this little saying that I just loved. I don't have someday on my calendar. I have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I even have Saturday and Sunday, but I don't have someday. There is no someday. This is what separates the entrepreneurs from those that are not, is you're still waiting for someday. Are you the entrepreneur? Get rid of your someday. Make a commitment to yourself to prioritize being a CEO. Set an example for your team of what it actually looks like to get work done. It's really not that hard. There were 4 things we talked about, right? We talked about the battle plan. We talked about creating time and space, only putting things on the battle plan that you need to do. And then once you start a task to complete it, it's not that hard. The hard part is you putting barriers in front of you. So stop doing that. Control you, which is really kind of easy. And when you're frustrated, take a look in the mirror, right? Reevaluate yourself. Okay, Carrie, we have a poll, right? Could you pop up that poll for me, please? Guys, if you don't mind taking a hot minute and filling out this poll, it really helps me to know what topics can we bring to you. Please brainstorm on this for just a moment. If you think of topics later, send them to hello@Peds-A-PALOOZA. Carrie, if you don't mind putting my contact information into the chat as well. You have my cell phone number, my direct email. If you could reach out to me with any questions you have, topics for Bloom, I want to bring those topics to you for free. I'm your biggest cheerleader. I want to help you move forward in your business. I'm going to be quiet for just a minute, let you finish this poll. Okay, so not next Friday, the next Bloom is June 13th. That's my daughter's birthday. It's Friday the 13th. She was born on Friday the 13th too. So Friday the 13th, June 13th, from 1 to 2 p.m. is an hour Eastern time. So I don't have the topic yet, but I will. I want to make sure all of you are on the POPPEE Facebook page. Man, Carrie, if you could put that link in there, that'd be awesome. The POPPEE Facebook page, I want to make sure you're all on it. And then I want you all to be my best friends and post, like, comment, share, because we need to get some activity in our POPPEE group so we can help each other and we can be popular with Google so that more and more people can see our posts. So if I could ask that of you, that would be fantastic. The other thing I want to open up for any questions anybody has on challenges they're having with this topic on how to actually get work done. So if you want to unmute and ask any questions, you can put them in the chat. And then if nobody has any questions, I want to share about the accelerator workshop coming up beginning May 16th for anybody that's interested. So let's start with any questions anybody has, put in the chat or unmute. Thank you, Carrie. She put the POPPEE group in the chat. If anybody's not a member of it, please fill out the questions or you won't be admitted into the group. We're trying to make sure the right people are added to the group. Okay, so if there's no questions about this topic, that means everybody's going to get lots of work done this week. So I'm cheering you all on. And if it's okay with everybody, I'm going to go ahead and talk about Accelerator. So if you want to pop off, I know Marie and Chantel, you're already registered, up to you if you want to stay on. But if you want to pop off, feel free. But for anybody that's still on, I just wanted to share with you a little bit more about what we're going to talk about. And so I'm going to go ahead and share a PowerPoint, if it's okay with you here. Okay. Nancy, can you see it?
I can.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Oh, wait a minute. I have two screens. It's sort of blocking my. Perfect. Okay, so beginning on May 16th, we have business plan established. So what we're going to work really hard on is developing your business plan. So defining your dream, structuring your role, what that looks like, planning for a team, whether you have one now or you might have one in the future. What does that look like for you? Really getting detailed on your plan to actually get started and stop putting off this planning, right? How to set and realize your goals and problem solving different income sources that you could have. Okay, hang on. Okay, we're going to go into marketing and public relations. We're going to hit on insurance planning, how to plan to take insurance, become a provider, if you're not doing that already. Billing and collections planning. How do you confront billing and collections and start to gain some control here? Production planning to ensure profitability. Like, what does that look like? Production planning, right? To actually have baselines of production for your team, whether it's a front desk person, a billing person, or a therapist. Defining your mission. How are we going to have a mission statement that kind of defines our culture of our team and hold everybody to a high standard? And then managing by statistics. We're going to talk about what statistics should we begin to look at and how do we begin managing by those statistics starting as early as next week. Then we're going to move into no fear hiring. Who should we hire and when? How do we go about hiring? How do we afford it? Where do we find these great teammates, right? How do you determine a competitive salary? How do you go from a really great interview to actually making the offer so that it's accepted, right? Credentialing know-how. How do you even credential somebody with insurance? How do you onboard a new teammate? We want to onboard teammates in a way that they feel valuable, that they're very well trained, and that they're not knocking on our door and interrupting us, right? How do you ramp up a therapist? Day one, you're not going to give them 40 clients, right? How do you do that in a slow way, but that you're actually paying for their expensive salary, right? Let's talk about it. And then retention strategies. It's a very expensive to recruit, hire, and train a teammate. How do we make sure that we keep them on our team? We're going to talk about marketing. Oh my gosh, we need to drive in new business, right? We need to drive in new business so we're not afraid to hold our families to a standard of actually attending their appointments. And we need to make sure we do some PR, some positive public relations. I want you to make sure you have a website, that you have a Facebook page that's not only is it created, but that you're growing your followers. And what do we post? And how do we post? How often do we post? Who are we targeting? What's the message? Really having a plan around social media, Facebook and Instagram. How do you afford your team, your therapist, your front desk people, your billing people, by making sure you're driving in enough new business so people's schedules are filled? And how do you establish relationships within your community? We truly teach a marketing sales approach. It's really not sales, it's marketing, a marketing approach that has to do with relationships. I want to teach you about building relationships in your community and how that actually leads to profitability. More on marketing, how to handle those reviews, positive reviews, Great. How do you get more of those? Negative reviews. What do you do when you get a positive review? I mean, a negative review. E-blasts. How do you use those? How do you use influencers and what are those in your community? What kind of a budget do you need to have for marketing and how do you afford that? How do you manage your marketing statistics? What are marketing statistics? And how do you create a checklist for marketing so that you make sure everything stays in? Front desk control, the first impression. When somebody walks into your office, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression, right? So what's that first impression like and how can you improve it? How do you hire the right front desk people to make sure that they're making a great first impression? When do you hire a front desk person? Where do you find them? What kind of person are you looking for? What kind of pay? How do you find out how much to pay a front desk person? And how do you make sure that you retain them? How do you train a front desk team? How should they handle a cancellation call? How do you train them up to handle a cancellation call? How do you fill that difficult time between 9 and 2, right? You can get those school age kids in pretty easily, but then that time between 9 and 2 is difficult to fill. How do you manage your front desk statistics? And how do you do quality assurance checks to make sure families are doing okay? Make sure your team's doing okay. We're going to talk about defining space. Should you rent? Should you buy? Should you do home health? Should you do teletherapy? What does all that look like? What do you need to know about trying to decide this thing? What are the risks of renting, right? How do you choose the right size, the right location? And what do you need to consider when you're designing this space? We're going to go into billing and collections. How do you make sure you bill maximally? How do you have coding policies? I'm not going to teach coding. I'll tell you where to learn it. But how do you have policy around it? How do you train your team up? How do you make your expectations known around your billing and your collections? How do you handle offs? How about private pay? How do you do that? Make sure you're consistently paid, right? How do you submit a treatment charge to insurance? How do you make sure it's actually paid? How do you handle time versus untimed codes? Do you build treatment with your evaluations? And then how do you do quality assurance checks for all of this to make sure that what you want and need stays in? Should you have your billing in-house or should you outsource it? What are the benefits of that? What are the risks? Who would you hire to do your billing if you were going to bring it in-house? How do you learn how to do it? What statistics do you learn to manage your billing and collections? How do you ensure that you actually get paid timely? And why do patients leave you? You need to understand that so you can control it. Really, truly, people say, how do I afford to learn how? How do I afford to go about this? I find that the best way to do it is to get a line of credit. I always recommend that people get a line of credit and they have a little pot of money that allows them to grow, allow them not to get into situations where you hire a teammate and you can't afford to pay them. But you absolutely have to take the time to learn how so that you know how to grow and run your business. And people say to me, I've had my own private practice. I've had this dream for years. It doesn't seem to go anywhere. Really, the biggest reason is just because you didn't know how. Any questions that anybody has around that? Around Accelerate, around learning how? You can put them in the chat. You can unmute.
There's a question in the chat.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me look. Do you host sessions when clinic owners of 5 to 10 years who have plans in place but need to revamp their processes to flow better? Yeah, that's a really great question. Here's what I would say. Um, if you know how to do all these things and you're sort of past this level, then there's something called a practice analysis that I would hook you up with. And it's when you get on the phone with somebody from Survival Strategies and they actually help you analyze your practice. So that's something that I would reach out to hello@PEDS-A-PALOOZA.com and let them know. Or if you want to jump on a call with me, I'm happy to talk more about that. But I would go the practice analysis direction. And then they will tell you what you do well, which you'll be like, yeah, I knew that. And you'll celebrate that. And then they'll tell you what you don't do well and how you can get that handled. Great question.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Oh, Carrie put Mary Claire, you can reach out directly to her instead of hello@PEDS-A-PALOOZA as well. And she can help you with that practice analysis. Great question. Great question. Any other questions? Hey, Carrie, do you have the link for anybody that might want to sign up for POPPEE handy?
The accelerator,
I'm sorry, the accelerator, not POPPEE.
like the purchase page, or the link with the agenda and all the information?
No, the purchase page.
Yes, I have it.
Okay. So guys, you could reach directly to this link. If you have any questions and you want to jump on a call with me, you have my contact information. I would love to help you with that and just answer like, is this the right direction for me? But above all, choose a direction, right? Put an action to it and actually do something to get your practice moving in the right direction. It's 2 o'clock, everyone. Thank you so much for your time today. I hope you found it valuable, and I hope to see you on the POPPEE page and at Bloom on June 13th and an accelerator next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Cheering you
guys.
on.
Oh, thank you. Yes, cheering you on always. And like Diane said, please feel free to reach out. We're really available. We're really warm and fuzzy. There's no question that is too small or too stupid as you might think in your head. So just please get out of your head and by all means reach out to us about anything that you think we can help you with. Okay. And see you next time.